Hi guys, this is Dee, and as I mentioned earlier, I am making another video this evening. So just a quick little intro. I want to give you some backstory here. The reason I started this channel was it was healthcare related. I got into talking about clothes and stuff like that because that's fun and it's girl stuff and I enjoy that and it's a good time. But I apologize for my eyes running. I have allergies. It's terrible. But anyways, the initial intention was to convey health information that healthcare providers feel like everyone should know. So it's for those topics that we would be at work standing around the nursing station and emerge saying, oh my gosh, like I wish everybody knew this. Like the world would be so much better if everybody knew this. Those topics, those things that people don't talk about. And what this video is one of those things. Now this is quite a taboo topic, I'm gonna warn you. I've also labeled it as not for children, but I do know that children do peruse the internet. So I am going to do my best to use a little bit of high level language as well to try and keep it above the level of cognition from little ones. But again, I mean, I can't patrol the internet for everybody, but this is a very important and very serious topic. It's not a joke. I might talk about it lightly. I might joke around a bit, but it is actually really legitimate. It's a very common problem and it is a very serious problem as well. So, I do also feel like it is an appropriate, it's a sexual topic, and I feel like it is appropriate for anybody who is sexually active. But that would include teens, and whether you want to share this information with your teens and that sort of thing is it's up to you. It's your judgment. You know your kids. But we always think we know our kids, right? So, and we also don't always know if our teens are sexually active. But for the older group and that, this might not be such a bad video. So, it's not crude or rude or anything, but it is a sexual topic, and it is very serious and important. So this is what we're talking about today. I am talking about people showing up into emergency with foreign bodies in the wrong place. So I'm going to start by a little drawing that I have so cleverly made to help us orient ourselves. So if this is a person standing sideways, and this is their face, the front of them, the front of your body is your anterior body. The back, as you've heard, is your posterior. That's your posterior. People refer to their butt as their posterior in jokes, and that's where that comes from, because your rear is your posterior, the front is your anterior. If you're standing facing somebody, then the sides of you are your lateral. In front of you would be anterior, behind you would be posterior, right? So this is important for this video to for you guys to understand this, and for me to be able to use the language I want to use. So when I'm talking about anterior, I'm talking about the route of passage where a foreign object is often made to go, and where if you are having sexual intercourse with your partner, where it's just natural that you're going to have penetration, right? So when I'm talking about your posterior, I think we all get the picture there. I'm talking about where things aren't necessarily intended to go, but people like to experiment, people like to have a good time, try new things. No shame in that. It is what it is. Like, you have a partner and, you know, people have fun and try things. And my whole goal is to have a quick conversation here. I don't want to drag it out about how to do this safely and without causing harm. And if something does go wrong, what you need to do about it. Okay? So that's what this is about today. So this is a very important video. Now, I'm going to erase this quickly because there's something I will be needing to show you. But, so, lots of people show up in the Emerge all the time with something stuck, and it's way up there. It's up inside their bowels, in fact, and sometimes it's as far as almost into their abdomen, into their stomach, because how our anatomy is our bowels are a vacuum. So if you were to put something there and let it go, it's going to naturally be sucked up inside of you. So if, for instance, what's going there is attached to another human being, you're safe because it can only go so far. You can cause the natural damage if you're not careful, if you're not using lubrication, all these other things that we all know and you're aware of, and you become acutely aware of it while you're trying that, I'm sure. But if it is something that is a man-made object, it can be quite dangerous because if you let it go, it's gone. So it will get sucked right back up into your body. So there's ways to avoid this from happening, and that's what I'm going to discuss first, and then I'm going to discuss what you do. So first of all, a man-made object. The ones that are made to not be inserted into the posterior region are basically shaped like that, right? There's nothing going on down here. It's straight because it's not, there's nowhere for it to go. Our vaginal canal, it ends, like there's nowhere for it to go. You're safe, okay? As long as, of course, you could always cause like tissue and like dermal damage to the skin levels and that sort of stuff if you're not careful, if you're not lubricated. Same as usual, same as always. I mean, you got to be careful with your body. You got to treat yourself gently and carefully. However, man-made objects that are meant for that, to take a posterior route, are more looking like this in nature. They're flared. They have a flare, and the reason they have that flare is because it can only go so far and then it can't go in any further, regardless of the vacuum of the bowel and the intestinal system. So this isn't going to get sucked up into your stomach and into your into your bowels. It's not going to happen, and it's not going to become a surgical issue. That's because this is made for use, for posterior sexual use. And that is very important. If you're going to engage in sexual activity and you're going to be taking the posterior route with a foreign object that is not a human, you need to make sure you're buying or using the right equipment and stuff that is made for that. Because these guys here, not made for that. These end up in your stomach and your bowels, and it's surgery to remove them a lot of the times. The other thing is they can get stuck just high enough that you can see it, you can feel it. It's very uncomfortable. It's hurting these guys. But this is what I want to talk about what you need to do in this situation. As embarrassing as you feel this is so common. People come into Emerge all the time with this. It's not embarrassing. Just be honest. Go into your emergency department right away, because you cannot pull this out, because this is a vacuum. And what happens if you pop the plug on a vacuum, right? You can cause so much internal damage. You can pull bowel out with it because it's sealed. There's a seal there. And if you start pulling, you can start pulling your intestines out with the foreign body, with the foreign object. So what has to happen is you go into Emerge, and if it's low enough that they can see it and get a grab on it, then what they're going to do is they're going to break the seal. And they're going to do that without harming you, without hurting you, and without it causing any damage to your internal organs, while they easily remove this foreign object. It's quite simple if they can see it and get to it, and they can break that, they can open up that seal. And we do have tools and that are made for that and that are used for that. It's such an enormous issue that there's a conference every year about this exact topic and different theories on how to remove these guys. Okay, so it's that doctors all over, Emerge doctors and surgeons go to. It's that much of a common issue. So this is one of those things. This was one of the videos I had in mind before I started the channel that I was like, gosh, I wish I could like tell people this. Like, I wish everybody knew this, because I've seen a lot of really embarrassed, really uncomfortable people, couples, partners of all ages, of all backgrounds, show up into the Emerge just humiliated. Sometimes they've hurt themselves because they've tried to remove it themselves. Sometimes they're just terrified and humiliated. No need for humiliation, no need for fear. You just need to get yourself into the Emerge and let a doctor help you out with your error. So that's what this video is about today. So the most important take homes here are that our bowels are a vacuum. If something is inserted into the rectum, it is going to disappear and get vacuumed and sucked up into the intestine if you let go of it. So it's not intended for rectal use, especially like something that isn't intended for rectal use is not intended for rectal use. Don't do it, because there are enough, and it's quite easy to get your hands on the types of products that are intended for that are a little bit safer to use. You still have to be careful, you still have to be gentle, you still have to be careful with your body. It's still your body and it's fragile, but it's something that if you and your partner or yourself you want to experiment with, it's a little bit safer. You're not going to lose it. You're not going to end up in an operating room having this sucker pulled out of your stomach because you ended up losing it. So that's my take home for today. And second most important thing is get into that emerge. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be shocked. Don't be humiliated. It happens all the time, and it's just a surgical issue. Medicine and surgery see it all the time, and they deal with it and address it, and people go home quite relieved and quite happy with their object in their hand safely. So that is all for today, guys. I hope you guys have a great evening, and I hope this video hasn't offended anybody. I really wanted to make this for a long time because this is very common, more common than you would ever imagine, and I hope it makes its way around a little bit, and a few people get to see it, because it is important. So that's all for tonight, and I'm gonna wrap it up here, and you guys take care. Have a great weekend. Bye now.